Now you should have seen motivational tip number 1 and motivational tip number 2. Number 1, we talked about, what time, when is it a time to begin that process of actually putting your flag in the ground and going, okay, it's time for me to begin this healing process. When are you going to do that? So that was our first call. Our second call was about, at the end of the day, I think in our culture, we're often told that something out there is going to come and rescue us and we're going to be okay. And that isn't the case at all. And so we talked about core beliefs and the belief that we have to rescue ourselves. We have to be the ones who are going to rescue ourselves. And today, what I want to do is I want to set you up understanding and really having a pathway forward to think about, how do I get from this awful, painful, distressing, upsetting place to a place where I begin my healing journey, where I can begin to get my feet back on solid ground again, where I can start the process of really taking control of and feeling empowered by myself to begin my healing process. When a relationship ends after 20, 30, 40, sometimes longer years than that, it can shake the foundation of our life. It can change the way we see everything. The love doesn't stop when somebody walks out the door and leaves us. It just doesn't stop then. If somebody who you love and care for has gone, the love doesn't just immediately be severed and you're ready to keep moving forward. You have a process of grief. And what I said in the last workshop was, grief is love with nowhere to go. When we love somebody and we ache for somebody, and the familiarity of that person, and the fact that we had a plan about the future together, and that's all gone. When it comes to that, everything is shaken up. And then you add more layers. Maybe you're menopausal or perimenopausal. Maybe you have children. Maybe they're younger children. Maybe they're teenage children. That has a whole set of things in and of itself. Maybe you are going to have to leave your family home. Maybe you were thinking of retiring and now you've got to go back out to the workforce. Maybe you had not worked and you'd been a stay-at-home mum and taken care of your kids your whole relationship, and all of a sudden you have to go out to work. There are so many things that come with this. And then there's the next layer. And the next layer is things like, maybe you had in-laws, a sister-in-law, a mother-in-law, a father-in-law, a brother-in-law who you just adored and had a close connection with, and they are gone. Maybe your friends have started to kind of take sides. It makes life very challenging. So this morning, we're going to talk about how, Debbi, how do I begin this process of moving forward? So far, you've had motivational tip number 1, and the post in the group, if I could, I would. Then we had tip number 2, and we had an opportunity to reflect. There's a reflection post. Then I sent out the quiz to you yesterday to give you an idea of, is there some attachment issues that are going on behind the scenes here that might be making this more difficult than it should be? Today, I'm going to give you another quiz in the group. And this quiz is more about, okay, what is your next right step? What is the next right thing for you to do? Because I think when we're in overwhelm, that's what we need, the very next right step. So let's get into today's workshop. Now, just for the ladies who are in the inner circle, when I am finished here, I will be going across to the Facebook group with the inner circle in it. And I will be doing a Facebook Live with you, answering all of your questions. If you are wanting to move to the inner circle, please sign up for that immediately. There is a letting go workbook. There is a self-soothing video series with Kathy Linda. There is also a Q&A with me immediately after this live. So please, 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 if you are in that group, make sure you go immediately after this to that group. And if you are wanting to get into that group, please organize that as soon as possible. I'm sure Kathy will give you the link to sign up for that. You need to let her know and she'll let you in. All right, let's get on with today's teachings. So as I said, so far we've talked about day 101 day, nobody's coming to rescue you, and the grief you are feeling, the pain you are feeling. Today, we're going to move into what I teach on a regular basis to the women that I work with in my membership. I have a global membership. So there are 3 stages, I believe, that we need to work through to be able to move out of this heartache to a more healing space. So what I teach is awareness, acceptance, action. Now, It's really important that we go through all three stages. People often want to go from awareness to action and start to do things so that the pain will stop. That's not going to work in the longer term at all. We need to do the three stages: awareness, acceptance, and action. This week, I've tried to increase your awareness about the way you think about things, the way you feel about things, the behavior you have, and to help you change your life through the way you think, feel, and behave. Today, I want to dive much deeper into that for you. And I want to continue to raise your awareness, because we can't change what we don't know. And there are things that are just in our blind spot that we can't quite put our finger on. And while they're there, it's really hard to know what is the next right step for me. And when we're in a really traumatic experience, like a relationship ending, we are also a bit foggy headed as well. So it's really important to get the awareness of where we are at in the blind spot and try and manage from that space. So after yesterday, what I'm hoping is you got some answers to some of that. Maybe it's around your attachment style. Maybe it's that you have learned behaviors that you have done your whole life, and those behaviors may be causing you some distress. Maybe what's happening right now is triggering in you something from history that you haven't properly dealt with yet. And so there is a sense of being triggered by what is happening. I encourage you to be really honest with yourself during this workshop. And so I'm going to ask you questions now. And I want you to, if you see something here that I'm saying and you go, that is absolutely a pattern that I have, give me a heck yes, a thumbs up, or a love heart in the comments. You don't have to, but it's helpful for you to be able to see which patterns belong to me. Again, we want to build a roadmap. Right? And the roadmap that we want to build is the roadmap that helps us begin to move forward in more positive ways. So let's look at some of the patterns that you might be experiencing that might be challenging for you right now. The first one, maybe you have a habit of ignoring problems and pretending they don't exist. You know, head in the sand kind of thing. Maybe you downplay things, you refuse to acknowledge how really, really severe things are. Like when somebody has an affair, it's like, oh, they were just having a midlife crisis. Oh, they've never done this before. Do you know what I mean? Or maybe you engage in self-deception. Maybe you're in denial about things and you believe falsehoods from other people. You kind of know in your knower that they're lying to you, but you tell yourself, no, that's just probably me. I'm probably just imagining that. Maybe sometimes you feel out of touch with reality. You're kind of like, I'm not really sure if it's true or not. Or maybe you harshly judge the way you think, the words that you say or the actions that you do. And you maybe have a story inside you that says, I'm just not quite good enough. I don't measure up. Maybe you get embarrassed or uncomfortable when people say nice things to you, when people tell you, hey, I love that about you, or you look really beautiful, or wow, you did such a great job there. And you get a bit uncomfortable when you receive recognition or people give you gifts. Maybe you avoid expressing your own needs and desires to other people, and you get uncomfortable with what you want and need. Instead, looking for validation from other people instead of trusting yourself. Remember, you want to know these things if they are things you do. So give yourself a love heart, a yes, Debbie, a heck yes, or a thumbs up if you do these things, because these things are the beginning for you to start going, this is something I have to work on. Maybe you feel an inner compulsion to solve everybody's problems. Maybe you're the sort of person who has a constant stream of people who have a problem in their life and they come to you going, oh, could you help me? Or a recurring set of crises coming through. Do you get involved in that? Are you the person that rescues everybody? Maybe you anticipate and meet other people's needs, but question why other people are not there for you, who don't, when you're in dire straits, they don't come and help you. And maybe you get into relationships with people who are quite dependent on you, people who drink too much, people who gamble too much, people who can't support you in the same way that you support them. All right, maybe you don't have any of those. Maybe this is what goes on for you. Maybe you have beliefs about yourself that not feeling like you're worthy or good enough. Maybe you don't think that you have what it takes to do the things you need to do in your life. Maybe you're scared of making mistakes. Maybe when it comes to decision making, you get in a mess because the self-doubt is so high, like, oh, I'm not sure. And so you struggle with that. Or Maybe you neglect to assess if a relationship is actually good for you with friends and with partners. Maybe you go, this person really is not that great for me, and yet I'm with them. Maybe you lose focus on your life and your identity. And as soon as you get into a relationship, everything is about that person instead of the rest of your life. Do you fear abandonment? Like, really fear it? Where you're like, if this person leaves me, I don't know what I'm going to do. And a lot of you have talked about that. And again, that's about a historical story, right? Maybe you've stayed in relationships that are not good for you. And there's a reason for that. I get a bit pissed off when people say, oh, people stay in relationships that are not good for them, they should just leave. Sometimes it's not as easy as that, especially if you have attachment issues. Maybe you struggle to set boundaries. Maybe you accept really unacceptable behavior. You told yourself at one point, absolutely, under no circumstances whatsoever would I ever accept that. And all of a sudden, you are accepting it. And maybe you gradually over time allow people to say or do things that, are really not okay and quite hurtful. And you stop standing up for yourself. And finally, maybe, just maybe, you don't trust yourself anymore. Maybe you don't trust other people. Maybe you don't trust your emotions or your decisions or anybody around you. And you've got into that space of absolutely going, I don't know if I can trust anybody anymore. When relationships end, it is life-changing. And the longer the relationship, the more life-changing it is. And if we didn't deal with one relationship ending and another came along quickly, we have compounded pain. So when we looked at the attachment styles yesterday, there's a couple that are really important to know. If we are securely attached, it's generally easier for us to move through really difficult things. We have good communication skills. We're quite comfortable with intimacy and connection. We have good boundaries. We manage things well in life because we have a positive thought about ourselves. I am worthy, I'm lovable, I'm good enough. And we have a positive view of other people. They're reliable, they're trustworthy. However, maybe if we are anxious and we're quite preoccupied in our attachment style, which when we were little, we learned that isn't something we chose, that was something that we learned to do as little people. So if we learned to be anxiously and preoccupiedly attached, what happens is we seek high levels of closeness with people. We're very sensitive in relationship dynamics. We might be a bit clingy, we might be a bit anxious, we might have a lot of reassurance seeking going on. And that's because we view ourselves in a negative way, not good enough, not worthy, not lovable enough. And we view other people as amazing and fantastic, and they're up on a pedestal. And therefore, there's a massive power differential in the relationship most of the time. Or maybe when you did your quiz, you found out you were fearful avoidant, also in the attachment, also in the anxious group. And if we're fearfully avoidant, we're actually scared. We're scared to be close. We're scared to pull away. We get to a space where we want closeness and intimacy, but we're frightened that we're going to be wounded. So we move between, can I trust you? Can I not? And we kind of go away, come back, go away, come back in the relationship. And the reason for that is we don't think we're worthy. We're not good enough. We're not worthy enough. We're not lovable enough. But we also think this other person cannot be trusted. Maybe they're going to hurt me. Maybe they're going to abandon me and reject me. And so we have this really challenging situation going on. And of course, then we have avoidant people, and I won't go into that too much, but for people who are truly avoidant, who really feel engulfed in relationships, they feel overwhelmed and like they're being consumed, and they think that they're okay. They think, I am absolutely fine. I'm good when I'm by myself. I trust myself. But you frighten me because I don't know whether I can trust you or not. I don't know what you're going to do. And my biggest fear is you're going to absolutely consume me and take over my life. So those people struggle in relationships because they want one, but they're like, I can't trust you. Now, if you found out your attachment style, you can let me know in the comments what it was. Like I said, I think in the quiz, there's secure, anxious, and avoidant. The anxious is the fearful and preoccupied, and the avoidant is somebody who's more inclined to sort of pull away in relationships. Understand that dynamics in relationships matter. Sometimes we're in a relationship with an avoidant person. Sometimes we're in a relationship with an anxious person, and that can change the dynamic of the relationship depending on our own attachment style. We can change attachment. That's what I teach women every single day, how to change your attachment style, to have that deep connection with yourself. Sometimes in attachment, we're looking at the relationship with ourselves. How do I trust myself, love myself, care about myself? And sometimes it's about the way I am with other people. How do I also manage either my preoccupation with another person and the outsourcing of self-love to somebody else, or where I am afraid to get in a relationship because maybe it's going to hurt me too much. I'm too scared. So thinking about your attachment style is important moving forward. Do you need to do some work on self-love? Do you need to start looking at what is missing for you internally? Do you need to look at yourself in relationship to others, your children and your partner or ex-partner? Do you need to understand that a bit more? It's important. These things are the stepping stones to the healing process. All right. So when change happens, most of the time we don't like it. Human beings really do not like change. We actually like consistency and knowing what's coming up, the predictability of life. But right now you're at a crossroads. It's time for you to make some choices. Am I going to become an active person in my healing? Am I going to orchestrate the healing of my life? Or am I going to struggle some more? Am I going to kind of stay in the washing machine, in the churning of the relationship ending and feeling a bit powerless? And so we have to choose right now, because you have enough awareness right now to be able to go, actually, there is another choice for me. I don't have to do what I've been doing. I can make a different decision. It's really important to understand what doesn't work and what does. So many women will talk to me, oh, Debbie, I'm eating better. I've got daily affirmations going on. I'm meditating. I'm being a bit more socializing. I'm doing things in my life that should actually be helping. And they do on some level, but they're not going to inherently bring about transformational change. They're kind of self-soothing things. They're things that can help you in the moment, but they're not things that are going to move you from A to B. And that's what most of you want to do, right? Is to move from A to B. Genuine change really comes from a deeply ingrained pattern of the way we feel, the way we think, and the way we behave. And we can change those. We have control over those things. And many women will say to me, no, I can't change the way I feel. This is the way I feel. Yes, you can. I am a therapist. Trust me when I tell you, you can. But you have to know how, and you have to practice on a regular basis. If we want to build up our self-worth, if we want to foster authentic self-love, if we want to actually have a better life moving forward than we've had historically, we need to take really deliberate, consistent daily action. And it doesn't have to be some giant thing. It is usually teeny weeny tiny little steps every single day that build to something bigger. So during the workshops, my aim is to raise your awareness around that. To help you understand some of the underlying issues. So what we often think is, my relationship has ended, how do I stop hurting? But from my perspective as a professional therapist, I go, you are in a moment of exquisite joy. This is a moment in your life when you can choose to do something different. This painful moment has come up for you, and it is an opportunity for you to move to a different path, to address self-love, to address what you wanted and you needed that you probably didn't get, to address, do I set boundaries or not? To address things that have been sitting and percolating for you for decades. Now is the opportunity for you to go, actually, I don't want to live the way I've always lived. I want to do something different. And those things are amazing opportunities for you. But when you have this cloud of, but I can't function, I can't eat, I can't sleep, I feel sick in my stomach, I can't cope. When that's going on, we've got to do the first aid to get you through that. And once you've gone through that, then you can start to make deliberate decisions about, okay, what is the next right step for me? Because if nothing changes, nothing changes. You know, you don't take action, you avoid accountability. Your daily life is guaranteed to be exactly the same as it has always been. But you'll have the fog, right? You'll have the fog of the pain of what is going on right now. So that takes us to acceptance. You know, people say to me, fuck off, Debbie. Like, don't tell me to accept it. I can't accept it. It's too painful. Or when people finally are in so much pain, they say, I freaking want to accept it. How do I accept it? So let's talk about acceptance. So when we have an awareness, it's like, great, now I understand what the problem is. Now I understand what I'm stuck on. The next thing is, how do I be with that? How do I allow that to just be there? Because right now you're doing this. You're trying to freaking wrestle it to the ground. I don't want to feel like that. I don't like the way I'm feeling. Maybe they're going to come home. And so if we're doing that, it means we're not in acceptance. We are still holding on so tight. And that is causing additional pain. So let's talk about what acceptance actually is. Acceptance involves, get ready for it, embracing a subjective experience, especially a distressing experience, without resistance or defense. It's about fully acknowledging the facts of the situation without fixating on how it should be or shouldn't be. In English speak, that means when your partner leaves you, it is really distressing. Moving to a space of going, this is what it is. They have gone. Whether I like it or not, they are gone. And I'm not stuck in the space of saying to myself, this shouldn't be happening. This isn't fair. Why is this happening to me? That is acceptance. Acceptance leads us away from all of the harsh self-judgment. It allows us to break free from the thoughts of guilt or unfairness. It's, staying stuck in our current state and this angry stage of, this is not okay. This is not okay. Staying in that stage is going to actually prolong for you the hurt and the sadness. We don't have to like it. I'm not saying sit back and go, oh, they're gone. It's fine. It doesn't matter. I'm not saying that. I'm saying you can be in as much pain as you are in. This is really painful. They've gone, but they have gone. This is really painful. I don't know how I'm going to go on, but they have gone. Acceptance is going to really make a big difference in your life. So there's some good news and some bad news. Believing there's a quick fix to make the pain go away is completely untrue, and it will keep you stuck. Trying to find something outside of yourself that's a solution is just going to keep you doing the same things over and over again. Every single one of us feels pain, and accepting it sooner can really help us move through it way quicker and handle it a lot better. The trick here is not feeling the pain. The trick here is, how do I sit with this pain? How am I able to be with this pain and cope with the pain? That's what we need to ask ourselves. How can I be with this incredible, upsetting pain and be okay? And this is what I teach women, how to be in, especially in that first few months where it's excruciatingly painful. How do I learn to soothe myself when it feels intolerable? And soothing ourselves is essential. It's not impossible. We have to actually practice. It's like driving a car, learning how to play an instrument or learning how to use software, which I had to find out this week, unfortunately. It's how to learn to do it. And many of us were not taught to self-soothe. And if you have an attachment style, an anxious attachment style, you look outside yourself for soothing. You're waiting for somebody else to soothe you. And that person may be gone. And so it is really important for you to learn to soothe yourself, to calm yourself, to bring yourself back to you, to remind yourself, I have everything I need inside of here to keep me okay, and to learn the skills to actually soothe yourself and take care of yourself. So if you don't know how, you can learn, I promise you. You have survived every single thing that has ever come your way so far in your life. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here, would you? You survived everything. The bottom line, and this is really important, you came to this workshop because you wanted to move from heartache to healing. You wanted to stop it hurting so bad. Right now, you're sitting in a crossroad where you're going to have to work out, am I going to move forward and keep on trying to work this out? Or am I going to get stuck and just blame them? It's their fault this happened. They shouldn't have left me. They shouldn't have had an affair. How could they just walk away and get into a new relationship and just ignore me and not care about me anymore? You can stay there. And you could be there in 3 months or 6 months or 9 months. And there are women who came to this workshop who has been there for years, stuck in this blame game, stuck in this how dare they, and being angry about it. Anger's part of it, but if you stay there too long, you're going to be in trouble. Change requires a willingness to change. It is not glamorous. It's not fun. There's nothing in it that you kind of go, yay, this is so cool. There's nothing in there. But it's an undeniable truth that if we want to change, we have to be willing to do the work. The duration of our pain, the depth of our pain is in our hands. We have the capacity to reduce the time we're in pain and reduce the intensity of pain if we choose to. And and acceptance is the pathway towards that. How do I be with this? How do I just accept that it is what it is? I don't have to like it. And I know women who say to me, oh yeah, Debbie, but what if they come back? Are they back today? Deal with the moment you are in. Are they back today? No. Okay. Let's assume that for today they're not coming back. And then you say, but what if they do? You know what? That's going to keep you stuck because you're not accepting where you are. Lean into where you are. If something changes, deal with it then. But in the meantime, think about how you're going to move forward. So we talked about awareness. We've raised your awareness. We've talked about acceptance, how being with the pain is where it's at, learning to be with it, sit with it, and hold on to it. And if you don't know how to, I can teach you how to if you'd like to learn. But what next, Debbie? Well, next is the action steps, the things we have to do to help us move forward. So I'm going to give you, as we've moved from awareness to acceptance, I'm going to give you a couple of tips around how to manage what we're doing next. If we've moved from acceptance and moved into acceptance, and we're not judging ourselves so harshly anymore, we're not feeling so bloody awful inside of ourselves that maybe it's something I did or I'm doing that has made this come about. Maybe we've moved through that and we've managed to get to the space where we're like, okay, I think I can begin this process. Once we address the emotional turmoil and the washing machine of stuff by learning to be where we are, soothe ourselves, stay in that moment, even though it's painful. We need to address some of the unresolved attachment wounds. So we're left with feelings. So I want you to understand some of those unresolved things that you're going to have to deal with. Maybe, and you can, give me a thumbs up or a love heart or a heck yes, if any of these things come up for you. Maybe you relive emotional patterns. Maybe you have emotional patterns that churn and churn and churn. Maybe you do play the blame game. You have unresolved feelings about the way things should have been. And so those unresolved feelings, you experience the emotional pain over and over and over again. It's Groundhog Day. You wake up, boom, you're in it again. You wake up, boom, you're in it again. Maybe that is something you need to begin to work on, interrupting those emotional patterns and starting to change them. Maybe you can't express the way you feel. Maybe you struggle with that. Maybe you are separated under the same roof and you're living with your ex-partner. Maybe you're seeing your ex-partner on a daily basis because you work with them. Maybe you see your ex-partner because you share children with them and you are struggling to express the way you feel to them, or maybe even to yourself. Maybe you can't express the way you feel. You might find it really hard to talk about your feelings or understand what you are feeling emotionally. So learning how to understand the emotions you are feeling and that they are normal. It is normal to feel angry when a relationship ends. It is normal to feel frightened when a relationship ends. It is normal to feel sad when a relationship ends. And you might feel them all within 3 seconds. And that's okay. So if you struggle to feel them and express them, you need to start looking at that. Maybe there's a lot of conflict inside of you. that's fueled by insecurity. You know, what is going to happen to me? Am I going to lose my house? What about my kids? What about my friends? What about my financial security? So there is a lot of fear that comes up for you on a regular basis about the future, the what ifs, the what ifs. And so you get yourself living in tomorrow or next week or next year. Come back to the present moment. How am I going to deal with today? That doesn't mean we don't deal with what's coming up. It means we make it more manageable by coming back to the present moment. Maybe you find it really difficult to connect with yourself and other people. Maybe there's a lot of emotional disconnection with friends and family. And maybe you're really struggling. I know women who say, I just can't face social stuff at all. I can't. I don't know what to say to people. It's so damn uncomfortable. So maybe you are disconnecting and becoming quite isolated. You need to try to be careful with that. In these difficult times, it is important to try to have connection with other people. Maybe you are struggling from a mental health point of view. You know, when we go through perimenopause and menopause, that can lead to some levels of mental health issues, depression and anxiety particularly, but also when we then go through the rupture of a relationship ending, our mood can become quite low. We can get a bit erratic. All sorts of things can go on. So addressing some of the pain that contributes to the anxiety and the depression is really important. Managing the emotional distress is really important. If it's been 6 months or more, you are not coping still, go talk to your doctor. You know, it is normal to experience low mood, to feel really uncomfortable, and that's not mental health issues. That is you dealing with the grief and loss of the relationship. But if it goes on for too long and you are struggling, you really want to be going looking for some mental health guidance. Maybe you are doing things that are actually hindering your personal growth and your healing. Maybe you are stuck in that washing machine of blame. You know, they shouldn't have. How dare they? That righteous indignation that keeps you stuck in a trap. I did a video recently about, you know, the dreadful word narcissism and how it's overused and over-attributed in relationships today. And sometimes when we get into that and we decide that, well, they were narcissists, P.S. they probably weren't. A very tiny percentage of the population are narcissistic. But if we get into that, you know, the internet feeds that like a fire. It's like throwing logs on a fire. It feeds the anger and the frustration. It takes away all of our self-determination and empowerment and makes us a victim of somebody else and stops us being able to say, this is not my story. This isn't my story. My story is I am a woman who is deeply wounded because my long-term relationship ended. And now I'm choosing to put my feet firmly on the ground and decide what I want to do next. Because what I do next is going to really impact the next 12 months, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. It could affect the rest of my life. And I want it to count. I don't want to be stuck in a painful, miserable, unhappy place for the next 12 months, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. I don't want to do that. And I don't recommend that. Life is damn well short and we have to grab it by everything. I was going to say something rude. We have to grab it by that and be deliberate and choose the very next thing that we want to do. This is a moment that could really just propel you forward in ways you never could imagine. The world's pretty hard right now. There is a lot going on globally, and we need to have a pathway forward because things are freaking tough. So we need a pathway forward. If you need help with that, I am here to support you. I would absolutely love to help you. I have hundreds of women around the world every single day in my membership to just keep their heads above water in the beginning, to find their feet, and to find a pathway forward. So it's possible to do it. Now, let's talk about action. We go to 3 always because 3 is a good number, right? So let's look about, okay, Debbi, all well and good what you're telling me, but how the heck do I decide in any given moment what the hell I'm supposed to do? Because I am foggy, tired, in the swirl of grief, and I'm not clearly thinking. What do I do? What's the action that I take? Well, let's talk about it. So you only have 3 choices, my darling. 3 choices. Isn't that wonderful? Because if we only have 3 choices, that means that's not too complicated. So When something happens in our life, now this might be your partner has left and you're looking at, what do I do with that? It might be that they've been gone for a while and you're separated under the same roof. How do you manage that? It might be they had an affair and you're wondering if you should stay or go. This works for that. It might be that your children have taken sides and you're distressed about it. You can use these three for that. It might be that you're like, I can't even function. This will work for that. This three option action step is going to really help you. So please write it down. Number one, can I change it? All right, that's the first thing. If somebody left you, you cannot change it. Like, you cannot. But maybe you can change the environment. Maybe you can move somewhere. If you're separated on the same roof, maybe you can take a break somewhere. Maybe you can change the situation. Maybe right now you're struggling to cope, and so maybe you go no contact for a little while. Maybe you can change your reaction and say, I'm not talking to that person until I'm calm. So maybe you can change one of those things. Maybe you're going, yeah, but how can I change it? Well, I've given you a couple of options there. Maybe you need to sit down and go, what resources do I need? If I'm separated on the same roof, what resources am I going to need to be able to get out of this situation? Maybe you have to think, when can I do it? When can I make this change? And maybe you have to save some money. Maybe you have to sell some stuff. Maybe you have to wait a little while before you can do it. And of course, when it comes to change, what is the very first next step? Maybe it's having a look online and seeing what's available locally. Maybe it's checking in with friends and seeing if anybody has a spare room at their house. Maybe it's about looking at, maybe I could get a job. So we can change things, right? We can't change that they left. That is something you cannot change. And spending your time and energy on, I just wish they were still here. I just wish they'd come back. I still love them. That is not going to help you. You can't change that. You can change the way you think about that. You can say to yourself, I wish they would come back, but they're not here today. That's something you can change. So what if you can't change it? What if you go, absolutely cannot change it, Debbie? All right, well, can you accept it? Can you accept it? Can you just go, it is what it is? They ran off with somebody else. Can you accept that? I don't have to like it. I don't have to condone it. I'm not letting them off the hook. I'm just saying that's what they did. You don't have to agree with what they've done. It doesn't have to be good or bad. It can just be they ran off with someone. Maybe it's something that you say, right now I can't cope with this. I need to come back to it. When I work with children, I get them to write down their fears or the thing that's really hard, and I get them to write it on a piece of paper, and then they fold it up and they pop it into a little, I've got a little puppet that has a mouth, and then I'll put it inside his mouth and we zip it up. And I said, why don't you leave that here with me for a while? I'll take care of it for you and you can come and get it next week. This is a way of putting down the hurt for a little while. And maybe you could do that and stick it in a drawer in your cupboard and say, you know what, I'll go back to that later. Maybe you can just keep your options open. Telling yourself, in this moment, I'll deal with what's going on. And I'm not closing off anything. I'm just going to deal with what's in front of me. Maybe when the emotion comes like a tsunami and knocks you off your feet and you're sure you're not going to cope at all, you can remind yourself, this is normal. This feeling is so normal. I am so distressed. I'm so overwhelmed. This is so painful that what I'm feeling is really, really normal. And be gentle with yourself and compassionate with yourself because you're struggling and in pain. I teach self-soothing along with Kathy Linda. We teach this to women, how to get yourself into your body when your body is just not coping really well. Maybe you can remind yourself, I don't have to fight it or try and stop it. I can just let it be, like a wave coming up the ocean, it goes up and it peaks and it comes down again. You can remind yourself that this will pass. And some of you will say, fuck off, Debbie. No, it won't. And I'm going to remind you that it will. It will pass because everything passes. The good, the bad, and everything in between. Look at your life. How many painful experiences have you had and they have ended? How many great things have you had and they have ended? Everything passes. So maybe you can accept it. Maybe you can't do any of those and you have to let it go. And then maybe the question becomes, is it worth it? Is it worth the heartache, the sadness, the pain, the suffering? Is it worth it? And if you don't know, do the 0 to 10. Where do I sit today, and is it worth it? Is it worth my suffering, hoping they're going to come back? Maybe I sit at a 10 out of 10. I'm so hopeful. It's absolutely worth all the pain and suffering in the world. Or maybe after a week or 2 or 5 or 10 or 20 or 6 months or 12 months, you go, it's actually not worth it. I'm still at a 10 out of 10. It's not worth it. This is so painful. It's unbearable. And then you decide to maybe move to changing or accepting. Asking ourselves, is it something that I can leave or let go of or move on from? And for me, that really is about how much, what sort of a price am I paying to stay stuck? And for me, I have an incredibly low emotional pain threshold. I do not like being in pain. I don't like it. So for me, I'm really happy to sit with the pain, process the pain, move through the pain, and actually get on with my life. I don't want to stay stuck in it, like quicksand dragging me under. All right, I want to now give you some techniques to use. So again, as I said to you, the point of this workshop is to assist you in awareness, acceptance, and action, giving you a taste of some of the things you could do to feel more empowered. So one of the things I talked about self-soothing, which is really important. When we are distressed, when we're really feeling distressed, we need to find strategies that work for us to bring our bodies down, to regulate ourselves down, or if we are really flat or flattened out and we are collapsed, to bring ourselves up. And these techniques I'm going to teach you are really simple, really easy, and they work. And they're science-based, which is what we love, right? So one of the things you can do to help bring you back to your body is vocal toning. And it's about vibration and how vibration really brings our body back into a more relaxed state. It helps to calm our nervous system down and release tension. So what we need to do is find a fairly comfortable position and sit down or lie down if you prefer. It's up to you. Close your eyes or don't. Again, that's up to you. But be in a space where you won't be disturbed. Then take in a really deep breath. Inhale really slowly through your nose. Fill your lungs up completely. And then as you exhale, what I want you to do is make a humming sound, either a or a ha. So it looks like this. And what you can notice when you do that is your chest vibrates, your throat vibrates, and your face. You can also feel the vibration in your face. Doing that for 1 or 2 minutes and doing it quite steadily, like trying to really do that long breath out, is really going to allow you to release some of the built up tension in your body. It is incredibly soothing. It is really good for you. It activates a thing called your vagus nerve, which promotes relaxation. It releases tension. For those of you that get that sort of feeling in your throat that there's something stuck, it can really release the tension of that. And it can shift your focus away from overwhelming thoughts to being in the present moment because you're feeling it and focusing on it in your body. So that is one of the things that you can do. You could try a breathing technique that is incredibly helpful for regulating you down, especially if you're struggling with sleep or you're feeling quite anxious. It is a 4-7-8 breathing technique. I'll show you the technique. So it's in for 4, hold for 7, and then out for 8. While you're doing that, you need to put your tongue on the skin just above your first 2 front teeth. So it's in for 4, hold for 7, out for 8, whilst keeping that tongue just on the skin above your 2 front teeth. That breathing technique really will calm you down. Only do it 4 times because it's going to make you a bit head spinny if you're a very shallow breather. So just practice doing it whenever you feel really, really distressed. Like I said, it fills you with a lot of oxygen, so it can make you a bit lightheaded if you're not a really deep breather. So just take it easy and practice that. Some other things that you can do, because here's the thing with self-soothing: what works for one person may not work for somebody else. What works in one situation might not work in another. So having a variety of things that you can do is a really good idea. So you could use cold water or ice as a way of actually bringing you back to your body. So we want to get something that is really freezing cold. Cold water or ice cubes or a cold pack is what we need. And we can either get a bowl of cold water with ice in it and splash our face. We could get a really icy cold cloth and put it on the back of our neck or on our forehead. We could hold ice in our hands or submerge our hands in really cold water and just sit with the intense feeling of it. Notice the physical sensations of the cold and how much your body thinks it doesn't like it, and just breathe slowly. And try and do that for about a minute. Repeat it if you need to, but the cold is really going to bring you back into your body. It gives you that immediate physical state shift and reduces that feeling of overwhelm. It stimulates a dive reflex, which can slow down your heart rate and promote a bit of calmness in your body. And it distracts your mind from all of the overwhelming thoughts because you are focusing really heavily on the physical sensation. I highly recommend trying some of those. It is really a good idea. You are on a scary ride. And you can't get off. Like, your partner left, you got on the ride, you're strapped in. You didn't choose to go on the ride. The bottom line is somebody else put you on the ride. And now you're strapped in, and you're going to get on that ride until you get off it. It's important for you to understand there are going to be times when you're going too fast on the ride and you don't like it. There'll be times when you're upside down on the ride and you may hate that. There are times when you are anticipating as you go up, 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 that there's going to be an enormous fall. You're on a ride. And how you get through that ride, you didn't choose to get on, but how you get through it, that's up to you. Your choice was not to get on. But now you're on it, you have to work out how you're going to get to the other end of this ride. How you're going to get to a place of being on your feet again, in a comfortable, safe place again. Between now and then, you need strategies. We are all headed somewhere, all of us. We're all meandering through life, heading in a direction. But if you are on the wrong path, if you have taken the wrong path could be they're coming back. The wrong path could be I hate them for what they've done to me. I'm staying in my anger. But if you are choosing the wrong path, then you are never, ever, ever going to get where you need to go. If you don't have the right tools, the right support, the journey that you are on is going to seem really overwhelming and really chaotic. You're going to feel exhausted and you're going to struggle a lot. And that is not helpful if you want to flourish. The world is challenging right now, as I said earlier. The world that we are in right now is extremely hard. Add this complex layer of a relationship ending, and it puts a spanner in your works in massive ways. The journey we are on matters. How do we navigate the challenges in our life? Because there's going to be ups and downs. There absolutely is going to be ups and downs. Have you got strategies in place to handle those times? Because if you've got some strategies in place, that is going to make the difference between being stuck and moving forward. Are you reaching out for support and guidance from somebody who actually knows what they're talking about? If you are watching videos about him being a narcissist and it's fueling your anger, that's probably not good support. If you are watching videos about how to win him back, that's probably not going to be good support. Go to reliable sources for guidance. They're going to give you clarity on what you need to do. They're going to help you and prevent you from getting really isolated in the struggles that you're having. Community matters. I know in my membership, the community is part of the biggest deal for all the women. We know each other. When everything fell apart this week on YouTube, I had a Zoom call with my members to just manage what had happened for me personally. And my members came and they supported me. When we are in community with other people who understand us and get us, it makes a huge difference. If we can see what is happening to us as an opportunity for personal growth, you might not want to grow. You might not want this trip. but here you are. It is an opportunity for growth. And trust me, this could be an amazing opportunity for you. I have seen it happen to women. It takes my breath away, how they've changed their lives in ways that were unimaginable. And of course, you want to find peace and strength. You want to stop feeling like the world is falling apart, and you want to have a supportive pathway forward. That is really important, moving through the pain with grace and emerging stronger than you were before. You get to choose what happens next. You get to choose how you navigate your current heartache. You're going to do it on your own, you're going to stay where you're at, or maybe you're going to choose something different. Embracing what is here, even if you didn't choose it, is a good idea. If you feel like you can't do this on your own, I'm here to support you. So is my team. But at the end of the day, you have to decide what your very next right steps are going to be. It's about finding the balance between honoring the pain you feel and allowing yourself to have assistance to move forward so that you can find the hope and the strength that you absolutely need to move forward.